yeah, people are in the bottle, that's for sure. And I'd just like to welcome you to the Reality Check with Charles Butler here at Red State Talk Radio. I'm broadcasting out of Chicago, right downtown in the heart of all this madness and craziness that's going on each and every day. Do you guys know the Black Lives Matter started here in Chicago? I'm going to do a series starting today, specifically talking about real Black Lives Matter. What do I mean by that? Well, these people who picked up on the hashtag Black Lives Matter, the founders of this movement that's being funded by corporations to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, has been founded by some very confused people. What do I mean by that? Some very confused people. And I'm trying to be polite when I say this, but trying to be really polite when I say this, but they are confused people. And Black Lives Matter was founded by two women who were lesbians. One is married. One lady's name is Garza. She changed her name to Garza. Her name was Schwartz. She was born Schwartz. She was born to a Jewish father and a black mother. She considers herself Jewish. Go figure. Because listen to this. This is how you qualify that you're born Jewish according to Jewish religion. If your mother is Jewish, then you're a Jew. And you know why the Jews say this? And you have to understand this comes from ancient times. They say, we don't know where the man came from or if the man's a Jew, but if the mother's a Jew, then the child's a Jew. Now, it's just the opposite in the Islamic religion. If your father is a Muslim, then you're considered a Muslim. But other groups, religions say, they do the whole, man, everything emanates from the definition of the man. But the Jews are very clear. If your mother's a Jew, then you're a Jew. We know that you're a Jew. Here in this girl's case, her dad was a Jew. And so it's highly questionable if she's a Jew because we don't know if he was a Jew. But anyway, that's another story that goes back out of my ballpark. And then this other woman who is really quite confused, supposed to be about Black Lives Matter. But they're about the LGBTQ RSV community. They don't care about Black lives. They've co-opted Black Lives. See, they co-opted in the name of something that we know exists, racism, oppression of Black people. And they try to link it to homosexuals, transgenders, and all these other crazy people. Black people should be ashamed. These girls need to rename that Black Lives Matter crap. Black people should be inflamed. And let me say this about that. There have been instances here in Chicago where Black Lives Matter was turned away, shot down, and told to go home. When they tried to shut down the freeway one Saturday morning, the people in the Inglewood community, which is where a lot of killing and shootings are going on, all Black community, they ran Black Lives Matter out of their community, told them to go home, get back on their buses, get on their trains, and get the hell out of their neighborhood. Guess what? The freeway didn't get shut down because Black folks are not playing. Get serious, Black people, about who Black Lives Matter really is. Black lives do matter, but this organization, Black Lives Matter, is a sham. Don't talk to me about some LGBTQ RSV people. I could care less about them. They need to see psychiatrists and they need to be on medication is what I think. But then that's me. I'm not Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who thinks that everyone should be equal. If you're a dog, you should be. If you love dogs, if you want to have love with children, why can't you be? This is an immoral chick. And everybody's saying, well, she was so great. I don't see anything great about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Nothing at all. Anyway, the president, of course, is supposed to pick his nominee to the court here shortly, and that should go well. When Mitt Romney stepped up and said, "Hey, guess what, guys? We're going to I'm going to go with the president, and if the president nominates someone, I'm going to be right there with him." You know, so
welcome back, host. Have a great show.
So Senator Murkowski and Senator Collins can go and do their thing because we don't need them. And, they want to slip and slide past their electorate kind of on the fence. They need to take a stand. They're cowards. Both of them need to take a stand. And they either need to stand with the people or get off the pot. But they're trying to, stay on the fence. We don't want to offend the liberals. We don't want to offend the conservatives. I want to keep my job. I want to keep this money coming in. Hey, I get it. But guess what? Get off the fence, Murkowski. Get off the fence, Collins. Stand for something or you're nothing. And they stand for nothing at this point. Joe Biden is still doing the Joe Biden. Slipping and sliding. Slip sliding away. That's what I consider. When I think of Joe Biden, that song just comes into my mind. Slip sliding away. Because the election is slipping away from Joe. And I don't even think he knows it. I don't think he gets it. Does he have any conscience? You have to wonder, does the man have any kind of conscience? Because he's just slip sliding away, man. And it's not me who's saying this, but let's listen to this guy. I'm going to play a clip for you. Let's see here. Okay, hold on. We're going to play a quick clip for you. I think it's right here. Slip sliding away.
Look, I'm not being naive. I'm not speaking to President Trump, who'll do whatever he wants. I'm not speaking to Mitch McConnell, who'll do what he does. I'm speaking to those Republicans out there, Senate Republicans, who know deep down what is right for the country and consistent with the Constitution, as I stand here in the Constitution Center, not just what's best for their party. So I appeal to those few Senate Republicans, the handful who really will decide what happens. Please follow your conscience. Don't vote to confirm anyone nominated under the circumstances present.
Why wouldn't they vote to nominate anyone under these circumstances? Ruth Bader Ginsburg on her deathbed. I don't believe that crap at all. Supposedly her stepdaughter, her daughter said that truly was the case. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But, who am I? I'm just a country boy from Pontiac, Michigan. Hey, look, what's going on the national stage? Everybody's focused on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm tired of talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I've had my say these last few days. In fact, a week ago today, we did a show on Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and my point was that she should have resigned when Barack Obama wanted her to, so that that Barack could have appointed a liberal to her seat. But no, she thought, like a lot of people in the country, that Hillary was going to win. And she was going to make history again because the first woman president was going to appoint the first appointment of the first woman president was going to make her first appointment to the Supreme Court, and it was going to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Wrong, Ruthie, baby. You tried to gut it out, but you didn't make it. What can I say? And, it may seem cold, hard, and callous, but those are the facts. Those are the facts. That's what she tried to do. And she admitted that herself. She didn't admit that she made the mistake, though, by staying on, because she said, well, what else would I do? But she really thought that Trump would not win, and she'd never be put in this position to stick around another 4 years before a selection was made. Okay, enough of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. What I do want to talk about is something, excuse me, 1 second. I think I'm going to have to sneeze here, but I won't sneeze into the mic, I promise. Um, is that the tension that's going on in the UN? Nobody's talking about this. We're talking about world-shattering events here. We're talking about the tension at the UN. We're talking about President Trump basically calling out China and saying, hey, they started this flu. They killed all these people. Yeah, the Chinese government did it. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to make news tonight, right? No, they're still talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Oh my God, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. No, Trump was like, hey, China and the UN, in his UN speech said, hey, China called us out. China is the cause of this flu. They let it out of their country. Uh, and nobody's really focused on that. And the question becomes to me, why? But we all know why. Because nobody wants to talk about anything of substance. They don't want to talk about the fact that this man is going to get a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, even the even the Nobel committee said they gave it to Barack Obama and he hadn't done a damn thing. I didn't say that. The guy from the Nobel committee said that Barack Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize and he didn't do one thing. Not only did he got the prize and hadn't done anything, he never even lived up or attempted to live up to considering peace in the Middle East. He had such a contemptuous and caustic relationship with Bibi Netanyahu that it wasn't funny. I mean, he clearly supported the Palestinians. So when I'm looking at Trump demands that the UN hold China accountable for the COVID virus. I mean, Trump's not playing, man. I'm sorry. I love this guy. I mean, he just comes out, he attacks China, says, look, yeah, China did what it did. And yeah, the flu, it belongs on their head, not on mine. I didn't kill all these people. China did. And nobody wants to hear that. My good buddies over at MSNBC, they're still trying to make us believe that somehow President Trump killed 200,000 people. That's what they would try to have us believe. They come on every night. President Trump killed over 200,000 people. No, come on, give me a break. That's not true. President didn't kill these people. If anyone killed these people, it was China who let the virus out in the first doggone place. But nobody wants to say that. The question is, why? Why don't these people want to put the onus on the people who started this flu?
There is a huge fundraising deadline coming up for Senate Democrats, and they need your help right now if they're going to meet it.
Every dollar.
That's Stacey and Schumer, and they cut in on my show trying to get money for the DNC. Sorry guys, no, I'm not going to let you solicit on the show. Sorry, but let's listen to President
The
Trump.
United Nations General Assembly, 75 years after the end of World War II and the founding of the United Nations, we are once again engaged in a great global struggle. We have waged a fierce battle against the invisible enemy, the China virus, which has claimed countless lives in 188 countries. In the United States, we launched the most aggressive mobilization since the Second World War. We rapidly produced a record supply of ventilators, creating a surplus that allowed us to share them with friends and partners all around the globe. We pioneered life-saving treatments, reducing our fatality rate 85% since April. Thanks to our efforts, 3 vaccines are in the final stage of clinical trials. We are mass producing them in advance so they can be delivered immediately upon arrival. We will distribute a vaccine. We will defeat the virus. We will end the pandemic, and we will enter a new era of unprecedented prosperity, cooperation, and peace.
That was the president talking to the UN yesterday during a video chat. And let me say this. He was strong. He was clear. It was the shortest speech of a U.S. president for years to the UN summit. Shortest speech ever. The president blasted China for unleashing a plague on the world, and he also attacked their record on the environment. I love it. I love it. Everybody's talking about, well, China is going to participate in the Paris Accord, and China said, yeah, we'll start like 2030. We hope to get something done by 2060. See, what Westerners and these young people don't get, the people who run our country, because they're so stupid, they always manage to the short term. They're always looking to the next job. They look 2 years out, 3 years out. The Chinese look 1,000 years out, 2,000 years. You know, when you talk to the Chinese, what they say, they look at this 2020 and they laugh and they go, well, our calendar is really, 2820. You know, we had a calendar 6,000 years before this, the Roman calendar, which is true, or 8,000 years, depending on who you talk to. 8,000, 10,000, 6,000. They certainly had one thousands of years before the Roman calendar, which was what we use in the West and the rest of the world to count time. So the Chinese are thinking not decades, not century. They're thinking in millennia. So when they talk about conquering the world, it's not about today. It's about 2120. Okay? It's about 2220. That's how these people roll. That's how they think. It's wonderful, I think. I think that we should develop that kind of thought process, but we're Westerners. I mean, when you look at America and you look at how young this country is slightly over 200 years old. Yeah, slightly over 200 years old. I would give you the exact number, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do a Google on it. But it's about 220, 230 years old. That's it. You know, we were born, 1787, I think we adopted the Constitution and all that good stuff. But President Trump, he confronted these guys yesterday and said, hey, I'm not letting you get away with this. No. Not letting you get away with this. I'm going to call you out. So let's listen to another segment here.
Toxic mercury into the atmosphere, falsely declared that there was no evidence of human.
Here we go.
The Chinese government and the World Health Organization, which is virtually controlled by China, falsely declared that there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission. Later, they falsely said people without symptoms would not spread the disease. The United Nations must hold China accountable for their actions. In addition, every year, China dumps millions and millions of tons of plastic and trash into the oceans, overfishes other countries' waters, destroys vast swaths of coral reef, and emits more toxic mercury into the atmosphere than any country anywhere in the world. China's carbon emissions are nearly twice what the U.S. has, and it's rising fast. By contrast, after I withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord, last year America reduced its carbon emissions by more than any country in the agreement. Those who attack America's exceptional environmental record while ignoring China's rampant pollution are not interested in the environment. They only want to punish America, and I will not stand for it. If the United Nations is to be an effective organization, it must focus on the real problems of the world. This includes terrorism, the oppression of women, forced labor, drug trafficking, human and sex trafficking, religious persecution, and the ethnic cleansing of religious minorities. America will always be a leader in human rights. My administration is advancing religious liberty,
Wow.
opportunity.
Wow. This president makes me so proud. Unlike Barack Obama, who could talk for hours. I mean, when Barack went before the UN, I think he spoke for 30 minutes. This speech by Trump yesterday was a little over 8 minutes, about 8.5 minutes. Shortest speech by a U.S. president to the UN summit. And by the way, the president's pulled back that money. We're not paying these people the kind of money that we used to pay them before. They're not seeing those U.S. dollars flow in, and we're using them for other things. We could use a couple of new schools here in Chicago. We could use some better roads. We could use some affordable housing. Put those millions to work here in Chicago. Put those millions to work in St. Louis, in East St. Louis. Put those millions to work in Kenosha, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Put it to work in D.C., right around the Capitol. You know, you go over to Southeast, that's a different world over there. Go over to Anacostia. You think you're in a third world country, dude. And don't go over there in the summer. It's an experience. So people who go to D.C. should go over to Southeast. Visit Southeast. Visit Anacostia, that part of D.C. It's a different world over there. Anyway, but the president spoke yesterday at the UN. Nobody's talking about this speech. It's a beautiful speech. It was a speech that called out the Chinese. Basically, we're going to enter into another Cold War, this time with the Chinese. The president's already kicked a number of their spies out of the country who were claiming to be diplomats. Same thing happened with Russia last week. I think he expelled 60 Russians who were not registered as intelligence agents. He kicked them out of the country. So, I mean, this is serious. This is serious. But why isn't it being talked about? Because Trump's doing it. I mean, he just called China out and said, hey, you're polluting. You're engaged in sex trafficking. You're engaged in ethnic cleansing. You're engaged in all of these horrible things, and the world's not holding you accountable. But we're going to make the UN stand up and do it. It's not like China's paying the UN a whole bunch of money. They're not. I think we were at one time we were over half their budget. I think we were like 3/4 of their budget to the UN. Trump came in and said, this is nonsense. Other companies need to pony up. Germany, the UK, Italy, Spain, these European countries, they need to pony up. European Union need to get together, pony up, and pay your fair share at the UN. Why should the American taxpayer carry that load? Great question. So anyway, long story short, expect a new episode of Cold War with China. It's coming, and it's going to be brutal. The Cold War with Russia was about military. This is a different type of Cold War. It's going to be about economics. It's going to be about controlling markets. Like the Chinese bought Lenovo. See, most people don't even remember who used to own Lenovo. IBM used to own Lenovo. When the Chinese bought it, they changed the name to Lenovo. I will never buy a Lenovo product because the Chinese own it. Never. So you'll see, and hopefully mainstream media will start picking up on what's really going on in the world. There's more happening than Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Sorry. There's more happening than the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's over. She's gone. Next. That's cold, but it's true. You know, she's gone, man. Over. So speaking of being over and done, and I do mean done as in sticking a fork in it, voting. That's going to be the next big issue. Voting. Everybody's focused on the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and whether or not the president's going to push through a Supreme Court justice nominee before the election. Well, hey, you better think about the election itself. You better think about how these people are trying to steal the election. All of a sudden, the post office is the most trustworthy, the best government agency we've ever had. And we should trust our election system to the workings of the post office. True story. True story. August, a friend of mine's kid had a birthday like August 7th, August 8th. Spoke to his grandparents. They said, hey, we're going to put a little something in the mail for you. Your birthday present, we'll put it in the mail. I know we can't come over and see you, but we're going to drop it in the mail. So they lived across town. And this is a town. It's in South Carolina, Indiana. So they dropped the grandparents dropped the card in the mail with $100 on it. Kid could buy what he wanted. So the parents are waiting around a week. No card. 2 weeks, no card. So mother goes out. Kid's mother goes out. My friend's wife, she goes out. She buys a card. She puts a $50 gift card in it and brings it back. Says, hey, this is from Grandma and Grandpa. Oh, wow. So this is like, August 14th, 15th, right? 16th, 17th, somewhere, 2 weeks after they'd mailed it. The card was mailed on the 7th, on the day they said they were going to mail it, and it didn't show up until last week, which was like August 14th or something. So it's like 5 weeks later. And we're not talking about a long time ago. This is 2020. This is this year, 2020. 5 weeks for this postcard to go interstate to these folks' grandparents or grandchild. I laughed so hard. True story, though. True story. So there's a great article in Wall Street Journal for those of you who are online with me. I'm just lining it up, show it up. See those people lining up? Great picture. It says, time is needed to exchange pieces of paper through the mail. As Congress understood in the Credit Card Act of 2009, it set a 21-day grace period before interest accrues to your account. It set clear rules for when your payment is complete, when received, and not when postmarked. Even so, voting like risk doesn't exist. None of us is ever likely to be victimized by a stranger paying off our credit card bill in our name. True. Alas, the likelihood of millions of November ballots becoming disputed only begins with the possibility of a late or missing postmark. Oh man, this is too funny. They said pressies, meaning the press corps, amused themselves by inventing behavior by Donald Trump as a source of every problem. But any election involving any two candidates would descend into legal chaos if the margin is slightly less than the number of rejected ballots. Never mind the thornier questions of the ballots. That should have been rejected. Mail-in ballots raise obvious chain of custody challenges, but how do we know who truly voted? Exactly. And that's what Democrats want. They don't want us to know who truly voted. Who voted? When did you vote? How did you vote? I can see it now. Trump takes Chicago. Oh my God. President Trump took Chicago? How Chicago votes, the rest of Illinois votes, which is not true because the rest of the state is red outside of Cook County and parts of Will County or DuPage County. There have a few Democrats out there. But people need to understand the importance of this mail-in voting. Don't do a mail-in vote. Get up and go to the poll. Get up, mask up, and go to the poll. Get your hand sanitizer, whatever your choice is, and go to the poll. I'm not sending my ballot in by mail. I don't like absentee ballots. I like to go to the poll. But that's me, I'm old school. Now, that picture that you saw with those people, those were early voters from Fairfax County, Virginia. And that was way back in September, before my friends, around the time when my friend received, his kid received his birthday gift that had been mailed at the beginning of August. Amazing. Amazing. They said in a normal election, this is this quote from this article, in a normal election, only 0.1% of in-house ballots are disqualified. About 100 times as many, or 1%, of mail-in ballots. Wow. So in person, 0.01. By mail, 1%, 10 times more. They said in Wisconsin, in a primary there, in last April, the ballots were 2.5% of the ballots were disallowed. The equivalent of 3 times Donald Trump's victory margin in 2016. See, they know they can't beat us with the numbers. They know they can't beat us with logic. They know they can't beat us with policy. They know they can't beat us going item for item, tit for tat. They know that. So the only way to beat us is to steal the vote by mail-in votes. Oh, well, we just happened to find this 300 votes back here. But hold on, wait a minute, wait. These people aren't on the polls. Well, yeah, they are. We just registered them today. You can register the day of. You can't make this stuff up, even if you wanted to. The Me Too culture, the resist culture. Barack Obama said when Donald Trump came into office, resist, resist, resist. And that's what these people are doing. They are resisting. They're trying to resist. That's what this mail-in voting is all about, resisting. I tell this story each and every day, or when I talk about voting, because I'm very proud of the fact that my father, when he worked midnights, he voted during the day. When he worked afternoons, he voted during the morning. When he worked regular, 5 or 6 to 3, he managed to vote. So why can't these people vote today? And certainly more people have the ability or have access to transportation than they did back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. That's just a fact. Women didn't even drive. If you were a woman driving in those days, boy, you were looked up to as being a tall cotton. Yeah. So whether the president wins or loses, it's going to be challenged. And it's unfortunate. What did Nancy Pelosi say the other day? She said, we can impeach the president every day. That's what she said, not me. Pelosi said, we can impeach the president every day. What does that mean? That you're just going to have a blatant disregard of the law? Ms. Pelosi? She said, we can impeach the president each and every day if we want to. Wow, that's a threat. Either, Donald, you do what we say we want you to do, or we're going to penalize you. We're going to take your votes away. We're going to impeach you, dude. We can impeach you each and every day. That's who we are. We're the House. Pelosi said we can impeach Trump every day, any day we want. You can call, I got the votes. I can make, but I don't think she'll have the votes if she tried to impeach Donald Trump. Even though I'm sure she would like to. She can't get it done. She can't get it done. She's too funny. She is too funny. See, and I'm going to finish this real quick, but Donald Trump won the electoral college victory, but he lost the popular vote. Popular vote doesn't count. Do you think Antifa will say that the outcome is fair if this time around Donald Trump wins the election by 280 and his nearest competitor is, let's see, they're 533. I don't know. So do you think that they would consider it a fair election? No. They said, well, he didn't win the popular vote, so how can he be the winner? That's how stupid these people are. So they're always conflating things. And when you conflate things, you can keep people off balance. That's why you have to be careful when you're phrasing your argument that you don't fall into the trap of answering their questions. Okay. So they make all these suggestions, and they make all these weird statements that, well, polls say that 65% of the American people want the next president to appoint the Supreme Court justice. I wasn't polled. I don't know anyone who was polled. I've talked to 20, 30 people asking that question. They weren't polled. So where did they get this 65%? You gonna tell me they're good? They'll interview 20 people and interpolate that the rest of us voting age people don't want to vote? Is that it? Hello. That we somehow don't want our vote to count? They said, stand on precedent. Well, that is interesting. But people, go to the polls. Vote at the poll. Don't count on the post office delivering your ballot. I wouldn't. I just told you that little story, which is a true story, about 5 weeks for this young boy to get his Christmas birthday present from his grandparents. True story. True story. Now, what I didn't tell you about is that what's going on in China, which makes sense, and Barack Obama is all over it. I mean, Barack Obama. Barack was not all over it, but Donald Trump is all over it. And that is specifically that China is backsliding on economic reform. What does that mean? That means that there are more government-controlled capitalist companies that the state controls. They call it state capitalism, is what they call it in China. And this is when the state, the Communist Party, owns these factories and the intellectual property and everything else. And, ironically, it used to be that way in Great Britain. After World War II, they socialized all the companies, and the economy wasn't growing. It was, it was horrible. You had ugly women, you had poor food, you had ugly restaurants. And now when you go to London, it's very cosmo, great women, great food. Weather's still a little crappy, but the ambiance and the company is just outstanding. But China is the only major world economy reporting any economic growth today. Because they're lying. Okay, everybody else is reporting, is reporting stable, leveled off, or declining growth, and China says it's growing. It said it went first into COVID-19 and was the first out, grinding out 3.2% growth in the most recent quarter, while the U.S. shrank 9.5%, and other advanced economies endured double-digit declines. High-tech monitoring, comprehensive and containment measures have enabled China to get the virus under control while others struggle. Yeah, well, when you create a virus in your lab, your weapons lab in Wuhan and send it around the world, what do you expect? You know, their economy's growing well, everybody, because everybody's sick, everybody's home, everybody's locked up. But some folks seem to think that this bounce back, this 3.2 growth rate is real and maintainable for the Chinese. I don't think so, because President Trump is getting ready to implement some policies that will definitely hurt Beijing. I can't say that I wanted to help. It's definitely going to hurt Beijing. And when you look at it honestly, the forces behind China's growth this year shows a doubling down on state management solutions, not real returns. Wow. See, I don't know how long you could last on a gig like that. Being you came in and you bought a house, and you're making all this money, and you can't really do with things the way you want to do them because you have the state controlling you, telling you how many widgets you can make, who you can sell them to, and when. I'm looking at Jason Riley. It's a great internet picture for him. Great internet picture for him. Oh boy. I think I'm going to go home and curl up with a sleeping bag, get warm. They say a little debate on plasma is healthy for science. So who is Fauci going to try to jump on today? Because he didn't jump on me today. These are, anyway. Let's talk about the FDA and its likely effect while the National Health Institute of Health urges caution. The answer: get more data from the trials. Interesting. Because I'm working. They're not coming to get me, folks. That's us live near a firehouse. It's likely. Okay, the FDA says it's likely effective. And while the NIH emphasizes he wants NIH to get more answers, the FDA urged caution while the National Institute of Health urges caution. Wow. They're going to have this go on trial. They're going to have this issue of whether the FDA and the NIH is on the right track, and because they're debating over plasma. Is plasma healthy for science? Don't know. I don't know. So, most notable, let me read this. I thought this was really, really, really kind of cool. This is Mitt Romney yesterday on the court vacancies, and he had this to say. I prefer choosing folks who are, if you will, strict constructionists, meaning they look at the law itself and the Constitution as opposed to sort of looking into the sky and pulling out ideas that they might think may be more administration. So rather than so Mitt says, so I recognize that we may have a court which has a more conservative bent than it has ever had over the last few decades. But my liberal friends have over many decades gotten very used to the idea of having a liberal court. And that's not written in the stars. And I know that a lot of people are saying, gosh, we don't want that changed. Well, it's going to change. It's going to change because they have the They have the numbers, man. They have the numbers to make it change, and it's going to be a conservative court, and they're going to roll back a lot of things. Yes, indeed. I hope Roe versus Wade is not one of them, but everything's going to be up. I mean, killing babies. I mean, really? They shouldn't have them in the first place. But as long as we keep saying we'll pay for babies, it's going to be like that. Okay. Well, we have back in the news the Breonna Taylor decision, and I'm looking to see if they made it yet. The television's off. I had it on specifically for that reason, to see if the Breonna Taylor case was on, if they made that decision yet, because it is going to be a wild day. If I don't think it makes a difference how it comes out. I really don't. Some people are just going to riot. That's what they do. They said protests after no officers charged in Breonna Taylor's death. Protests after we have a responsibility to look at the facts as they are, says the Kentucky AG. And under the law, I guess with the no-knock warrant, they were certainly legal, but they poorly executed the warrant and ended up killing this young woman. Man, I tell you, it's horrible. It's horrific. But at least the kids got taken care of. That's the important thing. And I think most people will say that. At least the children got taken care of. And the families got taken care of with the money. But, I mean, you don't have your loved one. But they got the money. I think they got $12 million or something like that. So, the decision came down, and officers knocked and announced presence at the Taylor home. They said they announced who they were. I guess that's what saved them. But firing on an unarmed girl the way they did, I think that that wasn't warranted. Got them what they got, which is in bad shape. The grand jury indicts an officer. I guess one of the officers was indicted. Yeah. Grand jury indicts an officer in the Breonna Taylor case. So that I was wrong, but right now the TV said that one of the young ladies was indicted. I mean, one of the officers was indicted. That should be interesting. I wonder which one it was. Maybe we can tune in and listen to this announcement real quick. But it's something. I tell you, it's something. Breonna Taylor, Lord have mercy. My heart went out to that young lady being shot like that in the middle of the night. God, she didn't stand a chance. And here she was trying to get in law enforcement, had a job as a security guard, just won a couple of awards. Life is looking good. And she dies in a hail of bullets. A hail of bullets. Poor Breonna. Okay. So let's see here. I'm looking at something, and it's telling me, let's see, sports. I don't want sports. What we need, Kentucky's all relevant information was provided to the grand jury. Okay, what does that mean? Oh man, I tell you. So they indicted one guy, and I'd certainly like to hear what the heck's going on. But we may not be able to because of the technical setup. But I'm just going through a couple of documents. Here we go, Fox. Let's see what they have to say, if they do. This is a daily briefing with Dana Perino. Let's see what they have to say. Oh, no, that's not Dana. There we go.
They probably investigated this very thoroughly, and this was the charge against the one officer that they thought they could make.
Wow.
But I think for the most part, what he said was mainly covered by grand jury secrecy.
Got
and
it.
The reason it seems like it's a confusing set of facts is just because it is.
It is. Annie McCarthy, former U.S. attorney, and of course, our great colleague here at Fox News. Thank you so much. Let's bring in former federal prosecutor James Trusty. Jim, when you look at this, here's a question, that is being posed, and I know you also teach law. How can someone be guilty of wanton endangerment, but not the death that resulted from it?
Right. It's a great question, and this is actually very nuanced. So it would be a long law school class to go through recklessness and negligence and intentional homicide. But the bottom line is reckless endangerment or wanton endangerment actually encompasses a wider array of behavior, and it can be much more all-encompassing of everything he did wrong in terms of that search warrant and entry and reaction. Intentional homicide still requires, in a circumstance like this at least, direct participation in her death, direct causation of her death. And so there can be a distinction. Even if it's the same general story, you can draw a line between the reckless behavior of his overall conduct and literally whether he should be accountable for her death.
He also mentioned that he is starting a task force that is going.
Wow. That's the Attorney General of Kentucky. He had quite a job. They were a little nervous down there that things were going to get out of hand. But they didn't, thank God. And people are peacefully walking and probably discussing what was going on. But they did what they needed to do. And the jury has spoken, the grand jury, and now it's time to go to trial. But when you see all of these people out here, most of them are white that are marching for Breonna Taylor. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, Black Lives Matter, yeah. And these people are letting us know that Black Lives matter to them. And they're black folks, white folks, mostly white people out here marching for Breonna Taylor. All I want to say is we live in the greatest country in the world. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. So you guys will be back here shortly. And take care.
You see that black